But what I've discovered over the years is that without quotas, without systems of change, we will get nowhere. I've done a lot of work in the Pacific recently about trying to increase the numbers of female representation throughout the Pacific, which is less than 4%. There are some Pacific islands that have no female representation. So unless we introduce quotas, unless we introduce some form of moving the goalpost won't move.
It was interesting getting onto local government, and I got elected in an election where we got the first female majority on Moreland City Council. 6 out of 11 are female, and that was quite remarkable and fantastic. So, and Moreland Council has led the way in many aspects. But I think for one of the first times in my professional life, experienced that type of bias and discrimination and very subtle sort of exclusion. And often if you have someone talking to you about a road or a drain project or this very significant economic policy, just being talked to in a way that I suddenly went, oh, nobody's ever talked to me like that in very simplistic terms. That's right. And I became very, very conscious of the context that you're talking about and the different types of tools you need to change and gain equality in those contexts.
I guess the question of why representation is important is really interesting to me, because obviously it matters because equality matters, but to me it's about the integrity of our parliamentary system. You know, the community has to feel that their representatives understand the reality of their lives. It's essential for people in the community to have trust and confidence in their parliamentarians, and discrimination is not really something you can explain to people. It's not a story you can tell, it's something you have to live and experience.
If we want to change society for women, all these issues need to be societal issues, not feminist, not female issues. You know, our childcare issues weren't just so I could go to work, they were so my husband could go to work, and then our child could have the experience of being in a good environment that we wanted to have. So negotiating this and living the experience has been quite fascinating.
I know what discrimination is like. I know what it's like to feel humiliated, to be dismissed because of what I look like, to have sand kicked in my face when I'm sitting on the beach with my partner, to be abused in the street, as many women and LGBTI people know and experience. And it's those experiences that can result in self-doubt, they can result in a questioning of who you are. And I know what that's like. I know how it feels to go to those dark places and to experience anxiety and depression. And I also know what it's like to rise above it and to turn those experiences into the strength to fight for a better world. Unless you've had experiences of discrimination, you don't understand even the problems that we face, let alone the solutions to them.
Even a small group of individuals get together, and you don't have to be the majority to create change. And sometimes it might be you and a peer, or 3 of you, or 4 of you, putting your head down to drive something forward, to reduce a barrier to participation, to get a community group that's never had a voice in the community, to be able to be represented and to get some sort of outcome in their community. With that passion and determination, we've been able to achieve so much, and I'm very proud of the work that we've achieved. It's been hard at times, definitely. But I think surrounding yourself with those people that you share those ideals with and can draw strength from is really important.
You said at the outset, we all go into politics because we want the world to be a better place. I sound like the beauty queen, they'll get the sash. I want world peace. And I do. I genuinely want world peace. I wanted world peace when I joined the party in '89. I want world peace more than ever now.
That raises some interesting questions as well about, it's very easy, particularly in my observation of being in the feminist community, it's very easy to be critical about people's need to negotiate, or critical about people not taking a definitive stance on one thing. But the reality of something is that you may need to actually make some negotiations, and you may need to have that kind of tortured sort of back and forth in yourself with your own morality system, because to actually get anything done you need to negotiate within structures that aren't ideal.
I think at a point we have to get to a point where we say it's not working anymore and we've got to have another solution. And change happens when you believe in change and you're harsh at that, not by saying I've got to compromise my values and morality just because I've got to work within the system. We've got to start changing the system. And we're seeing that starting to happen. We got the first Greens representative in the lower house of Parliament right here in the city of Melbourne, Adam Bent, because of that, because people in this area really cared about it and voted with their feet. We're seeing it in Wills, we're seeing it in Batman, we're seeing it in Melbourne Ports, we're seeing it in Higgins. People want to see leadership in this space, and they don't believe anymore that we can change from within. We are changing from within by getting more diverse voices into the Parliament and changing the Parliament, and that's changing from within. And I think we're starting to see people say, enough's enough. We applaud those efforts, but they're not good enough, and there are spaces, there are alternatives.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I've been a lawyer for many years before I've taken on this role, and it's similar, it's a similar role of representation, and listening is the first thing that you do. When you get someone who wants legal representation, you sit down with them and you listen to them for as long as it takes to understand their story. And I think, representation, diversity in our representatives matters because it gives you the ability to show solidarity. It gives you a little bit more of a chink of understanding of what that person might have gone through. And so while, I'm not standing here as the representative of all gay people, I have a better comprehension, for example, of somebody who's not gay, of some of the issues that people might experience. And so, yeah, it's all about listening and approaching with an open mind.
And I think that if you can acknowledge that you don't have that lived experience, but that there's also that element sometimes of not taking on the struggle, but taking on the arrows that are being fired at someone else, because it's exhausting if you are constantly facing different oppressions, to have to always be the one who's answering to that. I mean, I can only speak to that perspective of being a woman and literally no other oppression. But I can, where acceptable, I can take on some of those arrows for other people who are a bit exhausted by the fight, and also point to the work of people who have lived experience as well. So not just present those arguments as my own, but say, read this person or speak with this person, educate yourself, so that you don't end up crossing over into that uncomfortable territory of being an ally, but being the ally who gets kind of like showered in all the cookies, because you have the ability to be able to have the privilege as well.